Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to make a little social commentary about tipping. Because tipping is out of control. It really is. People are putting out tip jars at self-service locations. They're putting out tip jars even when the employees are not making under the minimum wage. They expect us to pony up for doing their job. The main issue I have with tipping in America is that it is ridiculous, and I'll tell you why. Um, I was in the restaurant industry for many years. I worked in a fry cook, line cook, a prep cook, did other things, but then later moved into the corporate level in the computer and technology departments. My father, came back out of Korea after the Korean War, became a dishwasher and a busboy and a server. Worked his way up from that to become the president of major restaurant chains. So we know a little bit about uh, service industry, a little bit. I remember in the 1970s that my family was on vacation, traveling around the Grand Canyon, and we went to this restaurant, coffee shop, diner, whatever, and we didn't have much, just had drinks. Didn't cost very much. And my dad left our server, young lady, $1 tip, which was a lot in comparison to what we spent. And she was just blown away, and it was her first dollar tip ever. A whole dollar. It just blew her away, and she made a big thing about it. I remember that. Now, how do we go from that to everybody becoming so entitled that they think if you tip under 25%, you're a bad tipper and a bad customer? Getting on my nerves when I hear people talk and I see them online complaining that about people not tipping enough, not tipping 25, 30%. They start talking about, well, that's my money. That's my rent. That's my car payment. Yeah, but that's not our job to give you that. Our job is to pay the restaurant, food, and yeah, the service should be included in that. That's the reality. The real reality is servers are minimum wage employees. That's it. That's what they are and always were. They make, let's say, because of this Wage Act, Server Act many years ago, back in the 30s, um, a server makes basically $2.13 an hour. The opportunity to make the tips. Now, if they work all week long, or all pay period long, and that amount of the tips plus that 213 doesn't add up or average out to an hourly minimum wage for that state, the company or the owner of the place has to make up the shortfall. It could be 50 cents, it could be all the rest of the $5 and something else left over. Um, if no one ever tipped them for the entire week. So that makes them minimum wage employees. Not um, not limited to the 213. They will make basically minimum wage no matter what, even if no one tips them at all. And they say, well, that's my car payment. That's my rent. Well, it's not our fault you're living beyond your means as a minimum wage employee. It's really not our job to do that. Now, we want to tip to, we had great service. Sure, I don't mind doing tipping, but 15%, which we got used to in this country, has now evolved into 20 and 25. In fact, it's even on the receipt. All the 15, 20, 25% is the options that they show you. You can say this is how much it'll be if you leave this much. Ridiculous. I'm going to use somebody as an example. I'm going to use a company. I'm going to use Olive Garden. Olive Garden, the CEO of Olive Garden a few years ago, I read, makes $10 million a year. That's salary, bonuses, stock options. Excuse me. The stock options, they don't get taxed. There's no tax on that until you cash it in or something or whatever. But the bonuses and all this, that's not taxable. They have all these expenses, whatever. But $10 million a year for not even handing somebody a plate. And why do I mention that? Because he's making $10 million a year because you are paying his servers the salary that company should be paying. Now, they say in this country, in the United States right now, the average salary for a server is $15.91 an hour and $100 in tips per day. I'm sure that's not true of a lot of everywhere, but that's the national average. What does that mean? That means somebody goes to work all week long, takes his girlfriend or wife or family out to eat, sits down, and is being served by somebody who is probably making more than they make themselves. You're making $25,000 a year or $30,000 if you're on that income bracket, or $40,000 a year. Chances are the server might be making more than you a year. Now, at $15.91 an hour, even if you were working 30 hours a week, 32, you'd be making over $50,000 a year with that tips and that combined. And if you work 40, you'd be making 60, almost 60. Now, I've seen statistics where there's a range between $40,000 up to $110,000 that servers are earning for giving you a plate. And that's a big difference from when I was growing up. A server did a lot of things. They took your order, they went and put it in, they brought you drinks, whatever else. They kept constantly working on your table and doing things. Then, when it was time for your food, they would check the food, make sure it was properly cooked and it was properly properly plated, and everything was right. There was nothing wrong with it before they brought it to you. If it wasn't right, they put it right back in the kitchen and said, "No, that's not right." But now what they do is they basically go up with their tray, put it all on there, come and serve everybody. It's up to you, the customer, to tell them something's wrong. And then they take it back. And you may or may not see them come back to refill your drinks. It used to be very different. They used to have specific people in a restaurant. That's what they did. They came and served your drink. The wait staff who are there to wait on your pleasure They were up there putting in your order and other people's orders and taking orders and making sure there was food was right, even plating the food and constantly doing stuff. And they had people that would come around and fill your drinks. There was also people that would come around with a dessert tray. You selected your dessert from them. That person was not your waiter, not the person that was serving you, not your server. Had a lot of things going on, and we were not tipping 15, 20, 25%. We were not. The restaurants were paying them to do their job. Now, this is just part of how crazy it is that people are online complaining to us, the customers. I see videos of them making fun of a customer who shows up every single day. Every day they're outside waiting for the place to open and they come in and they're making fun of them. This person who comes there every day to show your business loyalty and it shows you to be loyal, your company to be loyal to. You're making fun of him because he's a joke, he's embarrassing, here every day. And complaining about some people who don't tip. And some people don't tip enough. The one I'm hearing uh, worse is, oh, you only tip 15%. That's all they're tipping now. That's terrible. It's terrible. 15%. 15% is more than you deserve because basically what you are, a money hungry food runner. That's all you're doing. You're running food to my table and then running off. You're a glutton for money. Don't realize that you're a minimum wage employee. And if this was a class system, which is starting to look like we're getting back to in this country, you would be the servant class, the lower classes. You realize that, right? No, you don't. Bye, pig. So, what do you do about that? Rob has given that some thought today. Here's what we need to start doing in this country. When we go to a restaurant, go ahead and tip them. Tip them 15% or 20% or 25%. You can afford the 25% because of what I'm going to suggest you do now. Since the restaurant has employed them and they're telling you, the server, that your job to pay their wage by tipping, they demand that you pay their wage. They become a contractor. So the restaurant is subcontracting to you their services, which you pay for independent of the restaurant. So save all your receipts, all the tips listed for every single restaurant. Keep them separated. At the end of the year, write up a 1099, make up a 1099 contract employee form for the IRS for every one of those restaurants. Send them a copy. Send the IRS a copy. Take those wages you're paying off your taxes. That will set a fire under everyone's butt. When business owners realize that you're the one that's paying their employment tax, the tax you get taxed for them, you're taking that off your taxes. I mean, they can't take that off their taxes. They don't get to fudge the numbers and claim different deductions and all that because they get a loss every year, and the IRS will put up with a loss of certain things every year. And you get to take that money off your taxes. So when you file, that's less money you're going to owe or more money you're going to get back. And that's what we need to do in this country. We pay the contract employees. They're the ones that are saying it's our job to pay their wages. I can't afford my rent if you don't pay me. In a lot of restaurants, I see it a lot online where if you go into a restaurant and you don't tip a lot or don't tip at all, the next time you go into that restaurant, they won't serve you because you're not a good tipper. You didn't pay their wage as a contract employee. You can use that rationale, the IRS, if you want, and for the businesses. But I think we need to start doing that. That will, so that the CEOs who are making tons of money at restaurant chains might get a dose of reality. $10 million for doing what? Growing the chain? Okay. Get more franchisees? Okay. But not paying your employees. Ah. So save all your receipts, make up a 1099, send it in. I've given you all the rationale you're going to need. And you can battle it out if there. I'm sure the first few people who do that is going to have to battle that out in some way, but it's really beyond contestation. They say you're their employer and you're paying their wage, and if you don't pay their wage, they're not going to do their job. I could pay for the food and stuff, but if you don't pay them independently, next time you go in, they're not going to serve you. So that's just how it is. 1099 time, everybody. Let's have fun with that. Anywho, see you again soon. Have fun.